Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's joining us for Meet the Candidates Night 2021. Before we begin our meeting, we are going to stand for the pledge, and then we will start the forum. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to Meet the Candidates Night, sponsored by the district's PTOs. My name is Susan Downey. In addition to being a fourth grade teacher and PTO co-president at Austin Road Elementary School, I will serve as moderator for our forum tonight. There are 6 candidates running for 3 open positions: Jack Moda, David Furfaro, Lucy Mazafra, Michael Martin, Roger Duran, and Allison Mueller. Due to the pandemic, this event is being held virtually and will be recorded for future viewing. So that tonight can run as smoothly as possible, several members of the PTO President Council are on hand to assist with the presentation. Maria Morris will be monitoring the time, while Lisa Copeland and Lisa Mastro Pietro will be ready to step in should technical issues arise. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes to share an opening statement. Following the completion of opening statements, each candidate will then be asked 6 questions. The same questions will be asked of each candidate. Due to the circumstances this year, questions were chosen by members of the PTO President Council as opposed to coming from a live audience. Once all of the questions have been answered, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to share a closing remark. This closing statement gives each candidate a final opportunity to speak solely on his or her behalf. We are now ready to begin. Mr. Moda will be asked the first question. First, what do you believe is the greatest challenge facing special education in our district? The choice of speaking to elementary, secondary, or both is yours to make.
Okay, real quick, should we do the 2-minute introduction?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the 2-minute introduction. You see, I was seeing if everybody was on their toes. I apologize.
No worries.
I'm sorry, Mr. Modi. Yes. Yes, 2-minute introduction.
All right. Good evening, Mahopac community, the Mahopac PTO for hosting tonight's Meet the Candidates event. My name is Jack Moda. I moved to Mahopac in 1995 with my parents, where I attended high school and I worked at St. John's the Evangelist. I graduated high school in 1999 alongside my wife, whom I live here with, my 3 children who are in Austin Road. I take part in my children's learning and school experience. I've chaperoned many class trips pre-COVID, and I hope to get back to that tradition soon. I'm running for the Mahopac School Board because I want to make sure that all our students are in the forefront of all of our plans. One way I plan to make sure this happens to improve our transparency between all stakeholders in this district. We need to have an open and honest conversation with each other, and we need to create a plan together that ensures the future success. I'm also introducing revamping the district's fiscal responsibility to make sure we're providing all tools necessary to supply our teachers to give our children the best education and classroom environment as possible. I also intend to bring new information programs that will give all students a chance to compete with all our neighboring schools across our state for college and career readiness. I will make sure I'm asking the tough questions to the board, for the community members that they want answers to. I want to be the community's voice at the table when they cannot be. And a vote for me is a vote for our children and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Ferfaro.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for hosting this forum. I know it's not easy. This remote, everything remote. It's a very interesting way to do business. Certainly, we've learned a lot, come a long way. I got involved. I ran 3 years ago on a couple of issues. Let me tell you about myself. My name is Dave Ferfaro. I've been in the community some 30 some odd years. My wife and I, we raised our children here. We'll actually be married 40 years this year. Side note. Now we have our grandchildren here. We have 15 grandchildren, 14 of which live in the district. So I obviously have a vested interest in the district. That's why I got involved. I got involved a few years ago for a couple of reasons. One, I thought the integrity of the district was taking some shots. I thought it was time for us to kind of get back to doing things for the Mahopac School District and not so much for every little individual need that there was out there. I do believe over the last few years we've made some great strides in education. Certainly this year with COVID has been an absolute learning experience for everyone. I do believe going forward, one of my advantages as a board member is that I've been in construction, municipal bonded construction my whole life. That's one of the reasons I got involved as well. I think that I offer a unique opportunity to actually help the district moving forward with our bond that we're going to certainly see a lot of work this summer on and next year as well. I look forward to another term and working with all you folks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Musafra, you are up next.
Hi, everyone. Good evening to everyone. And I would like to thank the PTO Council for sponsoring tonight's event and for everyone who's joining. As a graduate of Mahopac High School, community member, parent of 3 children, and a senior board member, I feel I bring a unique perspective to the Mahopac School Board and community. As we come out of this pandemic, our children and staff will need social and emotional support. For the upcoming September school year, I will insist on a program to place for our students and staff. The pandemic caused conflicting guidance as far as school openings. As the directions changed, I knew this required the utmost attention to keeping our most precious assets safe. While always an advocate for in-person learning, I believe our children belong in a classroom. As we have seen, then and now guidance changes rapidly. We hear things as wear a mask, do not wear a mask, wear 2 masks, etc. I feel as a mother and a person that is not afraid to ask questions, I am the right candidate to hold administrators accountable. If reelected, I will continue to bring a mother taxpayer perspective. Since I have been a trustee, assuring our students, teachers, and staff have the essentials for success while keeping our taxes low is a priority. With this year's budget, our 6-year tax levy averages 1.09% and below the tax cap. This is quite a change from the years of 8 to 10% increases. And if the budget did not pass, we were threatened with extracurricular program cuts, layoffs, and teachers, staff, and class sizes would increase. I am proud of the bond that was presented and passed in 2019. The bond required dedication and collaboration of the board. I bring the essential experience of the board member and a current senior trustee, my understanding of the fiduciary process along with school programs and knowing what questions to ask is essential. Saying you will ask the questions is fine, but knowing what to ask is also key. The past year, I feel as though I was the mom of the board. I am not an advocate of rubber stamping. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, you are up next.
Hello, Ms. Downey. And everyone else, I'd like to thank the PTO for inviting me tonight. I am Michael Martin. A little bit about me. I am a lifetime resident of the Mahopac School District. I have graduated from Mahopac High School. I have 3 children. My wife and Chrissy have raised in the district. Michael, Faith, who are graduates. Ms. Downey is Faith's hero to this day. And we still have 1 more in high school, Daniel. He's our youngest. That's my family. I guess I could bring a little bit about me and my personal experience with Mayapack. I obviously love this town, haven't left it. My resume reads a little bit. I've been in construction. I own Martin Homes for most of my life. I ran that company. Finally closed, thought I was retiring. I went to work for the town of Southeast in the assessor's office part-time. I also worked in Carmel's assessor's office for Glenn Drosy, and I was also in the Carmel Assessment Review Board. So I have a little background in finance and looking at numbers. One of my big things is, as somebody mentioned, there's a bond we're going to have. I think it's about 54 million. I'd like to be able to manage that and look into that. As far as our school goes, I'm pretty happy with Mayapack High School. I think we're in the right direction. I think we're doing good things. I think we have great teachers. There's always room for improvement. And I would like to be there to continue on the tradition and to maybe improve here and there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Duran, you are up next.
Good evening, Mayapack. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Roger Duran. Born and raised in Yonkers, moved to Mayapack 19 years ago when my son was born. Been happily married here, raising my 3 kids, and I just love the community. One thing I love about Mayapack is that there's a sense of community and everybody tries to help each other out. Unfortunately, I used to work in the city a lot, so I didn't have a lot of time to dedicate to the community. I'm at a point in my life where I have more free time because of my job, so I can help the community now. A little bit about my background is I worked for E-Trade. I had a $160 million budget for the marketing team, which I was in charge of. I worked for Genpack, currently managing a $70 million international portfolio for international infrastructure and logistics. So what I want to bring to the table is the way I do business is questioning things. How do we stay within budget and, ask the right questions? I'm never afraid to say, what's going on, or I don't know, or I need to get back to you. So my plan for them is pretty much to make sure we have the right environment for the students and teachers to grow. Some things I hear about is like the science lab may be old, the bathroom, the locker rooms may be clean. So I just want to make sure we're asking the right questions and making sure we're asking the students and the teachers and the community, making sure we're all talking together and collaborating together. So my strengths are probably going to be collaborating with other people, my budget, and listening and questioning things. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Duran. Mrs. Mueller, you're up next.
Hi. Save the best for last, right? Hi, as you said, my name is Allie Mueller. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come on here and share my feelings and plans for our district. My husband and I moved here about 11 years ago. I guess I'm the only one that's not a graduate of Mayapack here. We've lived here for 11 years. We are raising our 3 children that are Austin Road Elementary students. I'm also a soccer coach, a den leader, and a business owner. My goal for running for the board is pretty simple. I see that there's a need for more transparency, more fiscal responsibility, and especially more creative thinking in our district. And I believe I can help. There are obviously some pandemic-related issues that need to be addressed first and foremost, getting our kids back to a new normal, finding ways for them to socialize safely, eat lunch normally, catch up on lost learning. But there are a lot of other ways that I think that our district can improve and offer better things to our children and prepare them to be better adults. One of the things I'd really like to focus on is exposing our older students to more trades, plumbers, electricians, carpenters. These are really great career paths, and we're doing them a disservice if we're not preparing them for the option of these arenas. And I just don't see that that's something that's being focused on. I'd also like to focus more on civics learning. I think that's another area that we're failing our young adults, and we're not preparing them to be good adults. And I'd really like to focus on creating a more colorful learning environment, both figuratively and literally. We need to brighten our schools up. It will help students focus and be more social if they're in more bright environments and more inviting environments. But we also need to find ways to empower our teachers to be more out of the box in their learning. I know we have excellent teachers that have excellent ideas, and we need them to know that we're going to be fully behind them when they embrace ideas that are more part of our homeschool counterparts' ideas. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Mueller. Okay, now we will start with question number 1. I apologize. Question number 1, we tail back to Mr. Moda. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing education in our district? The choice of speaking to elementary, secondary, or both is yours to make. You're on mute, Mr. Moda. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay. So challenges that we're facing regarding IEPs and 504s is that we need to ensure that all teachers are reading and complying with the students' IEPs and 504s and really understanding what the challenges those children have. We need to make sure there's also proper oversight of teacher compliance while making sure that the students have the proper tools they need to succeed. We need to test early and have early intervention with the children and make sure they get everything they do need from an earlier age. The challenge we're facing now is we just came through a year of remote and hybrid learning, and a lot of children have taken a step back. And I think we really need to refocus and re-strategize how we're going to work with the children who have missed all that time. What extra services are we able to give to them to get them where they need to be? I know we can do it. I know we have the teachers to do it. We just need to make sure we're there for them.
Thank you. Mr. Ferfaro, same question. I will repeat it for you. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing special education in our district? The choice of speaking to elementary, secondary, or both is yours to make.
I don't pretend to be an expert on special education, but I do believe that this pandemic has probably hurt our special education kids more than anyone, right? Because I think they need hands-on learning. I think that's much more important for those kids than it is for our regular learners. So I would say we have to double down this summer and try and get as many of those kids caught up as we can. If we can, I mean that's in the works. There is some 300 kids are going to be able to have some sort of help this summer to get them caught up. Again, I'm not an expert on special ed. I don't pretend to be, but I think again they probably are lagging most other kids just because they do need that hands-on experience.
Thank you. Mrs. Masafra, same question. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing special education in our district? The choice of speaking to elementary, secondary, or both is yours to make.
Sure, thank you. So special ed is very near and dear to me. Many years ago, how my first involvement was SEPTO, and surprisingly, this community did not have SEPTO for our parents and having an outlet for good communication. The greatest challenge for our students is to bring them back up to grade level and providing the supports they need. IEPs need to be followed and adhered to, in addition to for our high schoolers, making sure the students are truly involved in the decisions for their future. Many times decisions are made just with the parents and the school administrators, but bringing in the actual student and having their say and what they feel are the next steps for them is the best thing. Because many times students feel that they're not part of the process. So making sure that that continues and actually occurs is very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, you are up next. Same question. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing special education in our district? The choice of speaking to elementary, secondary, or both is yours to make.
I guess the pandemic has been the worst. So, I mean, re-socializing, return to normalcy for the kids. We need to get them more resources. I mean, we've all seen it. Anybody with their own children at home or children, or I mean, you can't look at TV or social media not knowing these kids are sat around. They have a lot of there's going to be social problems. Some of these children are going to have social problems. They sit around, a lot of them in their rooms. I speak from a little bit of experience. We have to get them back out in the world. And we just need to support them. They're going to need some more resources to level the playing field here. And I think a little less media will help, and a little more in school is going to work for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duran, same question. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing special education in our district? The choice of speaking to elementary, secondary, or both is yours to make.
I just want to agree with Lucy on that point of making sure we have the students involved in order to make these decisions. Obviously, it's their life, and we have to make sure that they're part of the decision along with the parents. But also, I don't want to say that COVID is a crutch. We weren't prepared for it, and we really need to find a way to step up and give them the support they need during this time and not blame COVID for our lack of failure. We have to find a way to find solutions to give them what they need, because there could be another pandemic down the line. So we have to find a way to be prepared. And this is a time where we get the parents, the teachers, and students together to find out what is that we can do for the future.
Thank you. Mrs. Mueller, same question. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing special education in our district? The choice of speaking to elementary, secondary, or both is yours to make.
I would agree with a lot of what's been said. I think that compliance to the plans is very critical, as well as reevaluating both right now in 6 months, constant reevaluation to see which kids are catching up to where the things that they lost and which are still lagging, and creating the plan with the child, with the parent, making sure that everybody's on board, that the teachers are in compliance, and certainly resources and staff never hurt. So if there's ways to temporarily add additional resources and staff to that program without, really hitting the budget, hard, that's a wonderful thing. And really focusing on a lot of social interaction, hands-on learning, things like that are going to help them get away from that tech that they've been really really reliant on over the last year, and help them get back to the normal that they're used to.
Thank you. Okay, we are ready for question number 2. Mr. Ferfaro, you will be starting off this round. Question number 2. What challenges do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings?
Oh, it's a broad question. Let's see. Say one more time for me.
Sure. What challenges do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings?
Well, it's an ever-changing world. So certainly, if we start at the top down at the high school level, I think you always have to be looking for what's the next new thing, right? And what's the next level academia, I guess you can give to your high school kids. I think we do a pretty good job with offering AP courses and college credits. They get a pretty good broad spectrum. But again, the world changes a lot. So I think we'll have to find out what's next academically. As far as the lower level kids, I think it's I'm an old reading and writing arithmetic kind of guy. I think that it's important that the basics get taught to the kids, that they do learn to come out of these elementary schools reading, and certainly that the programs across the elementary schools are all the same, that all the kids are coming out on an equal playing field. So when it hit the middle school, we don't see a disparity between one elementary school and the other. I guess that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Musafra, same question. What challenges do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings?
Sorry, I was having a little bit of trouble with my mute button.
Oh, you're good.
So, so when I think about it, I think about our kids starting from kindergarten through grade 12. And I know my children went through Austin Road to the middle school to high school, and they really had a wealth of opportunities from the curriculum, instruction, and the amazing teachers they had. And Miss Downey, my students had you as a teacher, so Mark is going on. So thank you so much for your assistance. Also, our teachers are such a big part of our kids' lives. And some of the things we've done throughout the years is we expanded the STEAM program and the courses at the middle school, and also introduced reading programs early on. And the key is to get students reading at grade level in order to comprehend coursework as it becomes more challenging. Because if you can't read, you're not going to be able to do higher level coursework. One thing a few years ago, we were introduced to Ozobots, where we had our elementary schools have these little robots, and the children would color, and that was the early stages of coding. And coding is such a big part of our lives. So doing innovative things like that early on is what will bring our kids to the next century and allow them to be in a global world. Our curriculum is headed by Mike Tremblay. He's a great asset to this district, and he's always finding new ways for better learning outcomes and professional development for our teachers. So that's my feeling of our programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, same question. What challenges do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings?
I think our district needs to investigate any digital gap we have with our populations. We need to start STEM or STEAM at an earlier age. And I think that children need in school, not at school so much, more computer literacy. We need to teach them how to use computers more. And again, that all has to do with the digital gap. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duran, same question. What challenges do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings?
Well, right now, I want to say off the bat that I think we're doing a great job. My daughter's a great example. She's in the 5th grade, reading at a 7th grade level. I think the teachers are doing a great job of pushing the kids mathematically, reading, literature. I think they're doing super. One thing I would like to see is us embracing more of the newer technology. Just like Michael just said before, the kids are in a new generation. There's a platform, Instagram, coding. There's things that we can offer them that we need to look into, because let them get into it, because they are computer literate. I see them on the computer all the time. So let's use that for their advantage, because that's the future. Computers are the future, coding is the future, understanding how platforms are run is the future. So if we could do something in that regards, we'd be giving them benefit for the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Mueller, same question. What challenges do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings?
So I'm going to sound a little old school here, but I do see the support and the need for technology, but I really see that there's a little bit of a hole in, like I said earlier, our trades exposure, entrepreneurship, financial planning, getting back to the basics. I think we need to make sure that we're preparing our kids to go off in the world and manage their bank account, start a business if that's what they want to do, create their life out of a trade where they don't necessarily have to go to college. They can start right out of school. I think that's something that we're missing. We have a great program in our high school, but we are not necessarily giving them all of the options if we're just forcing them down a technology route, because it is the future in some sense, but there will always be a need for carpenters and electricians and plumbers, and they are great careers that pay well. And I'd like to see more exposure to that for our students. It's personally something that I wish I had seen more, because it took me a long time to figure out what business I wanted to be in. And then it took me a long time to figure out I could just own that business. I didn't have to work for it. And if somebody had given me some entrepreneurial studies, I think I would have gotten there faster. In terms of elementary or younger students, I think it's never too early to start languages. I'd love to see my third graders speaking Spanish. They're not really, they're learning a few things here and there, but the earlier we start, the easier it is for them to learn. And multilingual communities are definitely a future for us. And I think that's something we can get a jump on pretty simply. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moda, same question. What challenges do you believe our district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings?
All right, thank you. Excellent question, actually. So there's a few things that I have in mind. Number one, I'll start with the high school kids. I think we need to offer AP access for all. You have IEPs, you have 504s. Any student should be allowed to go for AP. It's crucial for college. New York City has adopted it. They're doing it, and they're a great success. So that's one avenue. Another avenue is I think we really need to utilize BOCES a little more. We have to work on the message about BOCES. I went to BOCES myself junior year and senior year of high school, and I went into the field that I took at BOCES. It was great. I think we need to the message about what BOCES is and what it can do for you, for your future. Another thing I think we need to look at is CTEs. College is not for everybody. So we need to get certified, we need certificates for kids, career technical education. You can get it through BOCES. We can get teachers in high school that are certified to give out the licenses for the CTEs. And this is crucial, again, because not everyone is meant to go to college. Starting when you're younger, I think we need to really integrate with educational. We need art and sports. Everything together creates an amazing educational environment. We can't be too heavy on one. We need a good integration. Thank you.
Thank you. We are ready to move on to question number 3. Mrs. Mustafa, you will be starting off this round. Question number 3. What differentiates you from the other candidates and or current board trustees?
I'm sorry, you broke up. Can you repeat that?
I sure can. Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, you're on. Okay.
You're just going in and out when you're reading it. So I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm missing what the
That's
question
okay.
is.
Can you hear me? That's okay. Can you hear me now?
No, you're still breaking
No?
up.
Am I breaking up?
Ah.
Is that better?
Well,
Yes?
let's try it again. Let's try it again.
Okay. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to stay just like this. You ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Question 3. What differentiates you from other candidates and or current board trustees?
Okay. So I've been a trustee, a senior trustee for many years, and I bring a lot of knowledge, as I said in my opening statement. I have the understanding of the fiduciary responsibility. I have the understanding of policies, and I have the understanding of the needs of our students. Throughout the years, I've been an advocate for many of our students' programs, from making sure security was key in our schools, that technology was in our schools, and also advocating for our high schoolers to have programs which allow them to go to the next step of higher education or BOCES. I'm truly an advocate of BOCES, and I always ask, how do we introduce BOCES more to our students? And that is such a big piece of it. And as I said before, asking questions is important, but knowing what questions to ask is key, because things move so quickly. As a board member, we meet twice a month, and being in tune with what's going on is always important, and understanding what's going on. So the role of a board member evolves as the years that you're on the board, and the more knowledge you have is definitely power to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, same question. What differentiates you from the other candidates and or current board trustees?
I think, like I said, I'm a lifetime resident. I currently hold the position of Deputy Superintendent of Highway in Carmel. And I've worked with, I circle this town, 170 miles. I'm in this town, around this town. I know people, I know the school. I start with the bus drivers. I work with Stephen Trust, who calls me daily in the wintertime. We work with a multi-million-dollar budget. So I think my knowledge of this town, my love for this town, I've been in and out of that school with myself, my siblings, my children, my wife, Chrissy. So I think I'm unique. I just, I live and breathe the town of Mahopac. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duran, same question. What differentiates you from the other candidates and or current board trustees?
Sure. I think what I do is I'm bringing a fresh set of eyes. I don't have any loyalty to anybody or anybody in the town. What I want to do is listen and learn from the community and find out what do we need. I'm not biased for sports or arts or academics. I want to know what we can do to improve the kids' lives and the parents' lives as well. So also working with large budgets, I'm not afraid of asking the questions of why are we spending things. I've always questioned my bosses. My boss is out in Romania, so I always have to work on timelines with her, but making sure I have the right questions so I'm not wasting her time, because things are important in the business world. Things have to move quickly and decisions have to be made quickly. So I think I could bring that aspect to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Mueller, same question. What differentiates you from the other candidates and or current board trustees?
So despite being an artist, I'm actually a very pragmatic person, and I have a lot of experience managing multi-million-dollar budgets as well. In my daily life, I don't make decisions based on emotion or how something impacts me personally. I make them based on facts that are what's good for my clients, what's good for my business on the whole. And I think the same should be true for our board. No one focus should dictate our decisions, whether it's sports, special ed, union negotiations, capital improvements. I truly feel that the district is a living organism, and if we neglect one organ to benefit the other, the entire system will start to fail. I'm also very thick-skinned and strong-willed. I know this is a thankless job. I have no idea otherwise. I know 1,000 good decisions can be trumped by one bad one, and that all of them are hard. I am prepared to handle this and prepared to defend my positions with empathy to those it may negatively affect and understanding to those that don't agree. And finally, I would say I'm a very good listener. My parents joke that I'm finally putting my expensive social work degree to work, but to be honest, it's something I use the most in my life. Most people understand that a decision can't be made to benefit everyone, and they just want to be heard and empowered. One of the things that really pushed me into running was an email exchange I had with Tanner. I responded to our concerns with empathy, understanding, explanation, and most importantly, action items. He told us what he was trying to do, and he told us what we could do to help make what we want done. That's the type of board member I want to be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Moda, same question. What differentiates you from the other candidates and or current board trustees?
So thank you for the question. So in my personal job, I work for an electrical company, and I'm actually on the executive board for my union. So I represent thousands of people. I'm the chairman of my yard. If there's any situations in that yard, they come to me. I have to hear all sides out. I have to question everything, and I vet everything. So yes, I ask the questions. I ask the hard questions, but I ask the questions that people want to hear. Another thing, my wife is, plenty of people have heard, my wife is a New York City teacher. She's a teacher leader. So she's up to date on professional development, any tools and programs that are out there that can benefit our children. Because in the end, we're here for them. We want to make the school district better. I can bring that to the board. Another thing that it's funny just thinking, one thing that my wife hates about me is I plan. Sometimes I overplan. But unfortunately, in the past, you've seen not enough planning can be done and you're left trying to figure things out. So I'll make sure I can come with as many plans as I can for any obstacles that can come up. And I'll look at every scenario and see what could change at any time. And I'll adjust for that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Faro, same question. What differentiates you from the other candidates and or current board trustees?
First and foremost, I'll say I am impressed with the group here. It's a very good group, and it's great to see a lot of people engaged in our community. The only one I really know in this group is Lucy. The rest of you guys have presented yourself well, and I think that's wonderful. So it's a tough question. I certainly am. I've run my own business for 30 years. I am good at solving problems. I'm a tremendous problem solver. I certainly bring a uniqueness in that I've been in the school construction business for probably 20 years. So I certainly know that this bond piece of it very, very well. I know all the ins and outs and certainly all the pitfalls that can come with construction. So on that piece of it, I feel like I have a leg up. Again, I am the number one cheerleader for this community. I think it's a wonderful community. It's a great place to grow up. I think somebody mentioned it before. The passion of this community to get along with others and work together is remarkable. And again, this tonight is a good example of that, to see all you folks out here running. Again, I'm a good problem solver. I am a relentless worker. I'm there all the time. I will always get to the bottom of what the problem is, regardless of who it is. I do not make special I don't know what the word is, but special benefits for anybody. I don't care who they are, right? In the end, everybody gets treated the same. I'm a big believer in that. I think in the end, the school district has to treat everybody fairly. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you again for that.
Thank you. We are ready for question number 4. Mr. Martin, you will be starting off this round. Question number 4. There is a difference of opinion between board trustees or between the board and the administration. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
Yes, I believe in the democratic process. I mean, if there is a decision made, I may not be for it, but I'm only one voice, and I think I would have to vote for something for the better of everybody. It really depends on what the decision is. Does it come down to our children? Does it come down to economics? Does it come down to something I have a personal feeling on? So there are decisions, but yes, to be quite honest, in certain cases I could. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duran, same question. There is a difference of opinion between board trustees or between the board and the administration. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
I definitely would support the board. We're here to be together. My job is to voice my concern early on in the process, and then we take a vote. Once a vote's made, we have to stick by it as a group. We have to make sure we're strong because we're the leaders of the community now. So we have to make sure we stay strong and show a strong message for whatever decision's made. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Mueller, same question. There's a difference of opinion between board trustees or between the board and the administration. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I fully support the process. And if I didn't make if I didn't get my point across well enough during deliberation or it wasn't agreed upon, that's something for the process. And once the decision has been made, then we are a united front and we need to present the best option for our students, for our district, and for the community. Yeah, it plays itself out in deliberation and in discussion, and whatever decision is made needs to be carried out properly.
Thank you. Mr. Moda, same question. There is a difference of opinion between board trustees or between the board and the administration. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
Very good question. So I will say, yes, I will support. And I know this all too well because, again, being on the executive board, I serve a whole membership, not just a select few. And then being on the Board of Education, I would have to vet the information given to me. I would have to do my research. I have to study it, analyze it, and see why it's beneficial. And if it's not clear to me, get a better explanation and see what change can be made. But once the board has that vote, that's it. We are one board together. And we all make that final decision together and bring it to the community.
Thank you. Mr. Fufara, same question. There is a difference of opinion between board trustees or between the board and the administration. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's a split decision, I would absolutely support it, and I have in the past. I think what everybody preceding me has said is very valid. I do believe that in the end, once we make a decision, we make a decision. Not that you won't know my opinion. You'll always get my opinion, whether it's the dissenting opinion or not. I'll always say what I believe. I speak my mind. That's just who I am. But once a decision is made, we go out on a united front. That's just the way it has to be. Otherwise, the system doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Musafra, same question. There is a difference of opinion between board trustees or between the board and the administration. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
So while as a board member, I always voice my concerns early on when we collaborate. When things are brought to the board, we try and really have good conversations. As I said before, asking the right questions is key. We then come together, come to a conclusion, and then we go to a full board vote. Being united is important. When you have a fragmented board, does no good for our students, staff, and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now ready to move on to question number 5. Mr. Duran, you will be starting this round. Question number 5. The school board has an obligation of providing a quality education with a responsibility to respond to local taxpayer burden. If budget cuts are inevitable, how would you prioritize spending?
Good question. Well, it would need to, we would need to have time to look at what the programs are, what the costs are, because I would like to see a cost breakdown of everything to make sure we're spending the money in the right spots. Without a deep dive, it's really hard to say where the cuts should happen. You shouldn't be biased and say, if the cuts should just come from sports or it should just come from arts. That's not the way a budget should really be run. You have to look at the lines, do a deep dive, and make sure you have the right conversations with all the stakeholders to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the students and not really impacting their life that much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Mueller, same question. The school board has an obligation of providing a quality education with a responsibility to respond to local taxpayer burden. If budget cuts are inevitable, how would you prioritize spending?
I 100% agree that with Mr. Duran that it's hard to give you a clean answer without really doing a deep dive into our current budgets and understanding exactly where we're at. Certainly, it would be better to trim off of small trims off of programs rather than cutting an entire program, but without seeing the deep dive into that and knowing exactly where we can even temporarily move money around or borrow from, it's hard to give a clean answer to that. But there's certainly fat to be trimmed, is my opinion, and I'm eager to get in there and take a look and see where we can better use our dollars.
Thank you. Mr. Moda, same question. The board has an obligation of providing a quality education with the responsibility to respond to local taxpayer burden. If budget cuts are inevitable, how would you prioritize spending?
So I think we need to get creative with our budget. Again, we need to look at the budget and see where everything is lying. What projects can possibly be put on hold for future years to make sure that our children get the best education they can? And I'm talking a complete education. So we cannot always get rid of art, or we can't get rid of sport. We need to see where can we improve. Again, without looking at the budget, it is hard to say. But everything has to get vetted. You really need to look deep and have a conversation. You need to talk to the stakeholders. Everyone should have a voice. Every taxpayer should have a voice in this community of what do you think we should do? We have a lot of talent in this community and a lot of knowledge in this community. I don't know everything. I'm sure all of you can admit you don't know everything. We need to work together to find the best solution. Instead of telling the community what we're going to do, let's work together to figure it out.
Thank you. Mr. Farfara, same question. The school board has an obligation of providing a quality education with the responsibility to respond to local taxpayer burden. If budget cuts are inevitable, how would you prioritize spending?
So the education business is a challenge in that, 80% of our costs are people, right? And education is about people ultimately in the end. So you always try and go for the hard things first, things that are solid, if you can lose some pencils and pens, but in the end, it's tough because those things don't add up to a lot of money. So it really becomes very, very difficult when you get really down to deep cuts, because you got to talk about people, right? And then you don't really want to affect student to teacher ratios and those kind of things, right? We want to make sure we're getting our kids the best opportunity we can. But I guess you would start at things that are not, student related or education related. But again, it's a very small piece of the budget. You would start there. And I think, I agree with some of the former candidates here. I think in the end, you'd really have to understand the details of a budget to make those decisions. You have to go line by line and find the best spots you can to make I always say it's the best bad decision you can make, because they're not good decisions when you're cutting a bunch of people or cutting your budget academically. It's just not good news. So I would say we'd have to dig in line by line. I think it's a great idea to be creative, but again, there is a lot of minutia to school finance. There's certain funds are in certain buckets, so you can't cut them if you want to cut them. Like you can say, I'm going to cut some facility money, but the facility money is in a separate bucket, has nothing to do with the education money. So it's really a complicated question. But I think we'd have to look at it line by line and work our tail off to try and figure out the best way to have the least misery in the community that we could possibly do and give the best education to the kids that we can. Thanks.
Thank you. This is Musafra, same question. The school board has an obligation of providing a quality education with responsibility to respond to local taxpayer burden. If budget cuts are inevitable, how would you prioritize spending?
Thank you for the question. So as we've heard before, in order to do a deep dive, you have to go through each line item in the budget and determine which lines could be reduced without impact to the students. As Dave said, most of our budget is mostly salaries. So thinking out of the box is essential. And many times I would ask our administrators to go back and to sharpen their pencils and to really determine in each line what is listed there. Is that a true number? Is there any extra cushion in there? And for them to really do a deep dive. The burden that happens on districts is what's called unfunded mandates, where the state comes in and then the Department of Special Ed says, you need to provide this program, that program, and they don't give us the funding. And that's a big part that affects school districts, that as the years progress and more of this comes down the pike, it's a lot for the taxpayers to hold on to. So really lobbying to have school districts have unfunded mandates to be funded is the biggest important piece, because that would fill the gap when things of that occur. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, same question. The school board has an obligation of providing a quality education with a responsibility to respond to local taxpayer burden. If budget cuts are inevitable, how would you prioritize spending?
Well, carefully and prudently, we would need to keep the students in the forefront. It's not always the most popular decision, but we have to remember we're here for the students. We could talk to all stakeholders and everybody involved and look over budgets. But when it comes down to it, it's the thing that affects our students the absolute least. And that's where we'd make our cuts.
Thank you. We are now ready for our final question of the evening, question number 6. Mrs. Mueller, you will be starting off this round. Question number 6. What do you feel is the primary responsibility of the Board of Education as a whole? What role do its trustees have in day-to-day operations of the district?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say it's twofold. The first and foremost is its role is to protect and provide for our students. They are the clients of the district. They are the ones that we need to ensure are getting the best education and are being fully prepared for their life beyond Mahopac High School. And then past that, our responsibility is to be a voice for our community and make sure that the decisions that are being made, are in the best interest of the community. One of the things that really pushed me to become a candidate was because I felt like I and a lot of my my peers felt like they were out in the dark. No, we didn't really know what was going on. There was snippets of information being shared, surveys that were very shallow. Are you going to do hybrid or not? Are you going to take the bus or not? And the depth of the information that was being gathered and shared was just not sufficient, especially in a pandemic, but in general. And that was one of the reasons I really felt like it was time to step up and throw my hat in the ring for this. Our job is to ensure that our district is exceptional, that our students are taken care of, and that our community is feeling like their money is being well spent. And it is a lot of money. Our residents pay a lot of taxes. They deserve an exceptional education, and they shouldn't feel the need to go out of district or to private schools to get that. So my role, I think, like I said, would be to be a listener and to be a voice. I am a new set of ears and eyes on this board if given the chance. And, you know, it might be time to shake some things up. It might be time to try new directions and get creative. And in the very least, it is time to make sure that our community feels like their voice is being heard and their needs are being met. And when they have questions, comments, concerns, they're getting a sufficient answer that's backed up with data and fact and explanation and empathy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moda, same question. What do
Thank
you
you.
feel is I guess I should say questions. I apologize. It's a twofold. What do you feel is the primary responsibility of the Board of Education as a whole? What role do its trustees have in day-to-day operations of the district?
So the primary role of the Board of Education is a governing body of the school district. So to make sure that everything that is set in place is running properly the way it should be. We need to make sure that we're giving the children the best education, whether it's programs, classes, or anything for teachers, professional development that would help benefit them to teach our children. As a trustee, it'd be my job to, again, like I said earlier, vet any information given to me and see, is this the most beneficial tool we can use? Is there something better out there that we can find and work together and get? Another thing people that know me know I've been talking a lot about is transparency. Open communication is key. Open communication between the board members, between administration, between the teachers, and between the community. We have to do this together. If we don't do it together, we have a hard time succeeding. And I know MAEPAC can succeed if we all work together, and that would be my responsibility as a trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Farfara, same question. What do you feel, questions, I apologize. What do you feel is the primary responsibility of the Board of Education as a whole? What role do its trustees have in day-to-day operations of the district?
So I'll answer the second part first, the day-to-day operations. We really don't have any role in the day-to-day operations. That's not, it's by pretty much by New York state law. And once you kind of go to class, they tell you that we don't get to run into the buildings and scold the principals or tell the cafeteria monitor we don't like something. That's not really our role, right? We hire professionals to do that. I do believe we are a conduit for the community, right? We are out there to hear their concerns and get those concerns back to the board and to the administration so they understand what's going on. We certainly have financial responsibility, we have a fiduciary responsibility. We select and evaluate the superintendent, right? And he in turn selects his staff. And that really is critical, right? That's a critical component to the whole thing. If you hire a really good superintendent and he can bring in really good people, you're probably going to have a pretty good district. So that's a really, really important piece of it, that we hold our superintendent, that he creates some goals and our a plan going forward, and that he adheres to it. I think that's really important. And finally, we set policy, right? We steer the ship. We point the ship in a direction, and we make sure it goes in that direction. But that's how I see as a school board trustee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Musafra, same two questions. What do you feel is the primary responsibility of the Board of Education as a whole? What role do its trustees have in day-to-day operations, excuse me, of the district?
So the role of a board trustee is the fiduciary responsibility. And we are the stewards of the district, and we make sure that resources are being used correctly and transparency is always on the forefront. We're also the advocate for the students, parents, and the community taxpayer. There's also a balance of being a school board member. It's like Dave said, it's like steering a ship. If you go too far left, you get off course. If you go too far right. So staying right in the middle is always the challenge. Ultimately, the school district does have the superintendent, and he's the CEO, and his executive staff are the assistant superintendents. So he selects those staffs, and they run the day-to-day. The full board, we typically meet twice a month. We have a work session, we have a public meeting. It's all in transparency. It's posted on our website when our meetings occur, the topics that are being discussed. And this is where the opportunity is for asking questions occur, and knowing the programs and the history is important. So how to move forward with being a board member, that's the most important thing, is knowing your history in order to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, same two questions. What do you feel is the primary responsibility of the Board of Education as a whole? What role do its trustees have in day-to-day operations of the district?
Well, I actually listened to a lot of good answers, and I have not been on this board. And what I can really say is I know we are, I think Mr. Moda said we are, I know we're there as a governing agent. We're not so much, and again, Mr. Fafaro said we're not so involved in day-to-day operations. These are a couple things I agree with. Me being there, and again, I'm not on the board. I don't know what all your operations are, but I would like to learn. I'd like to get on that board. I'd like to see what's going on with finances, teachers, all the programs at the school. I think I have a lot to offer Again, I'm not quite sure about everything that the board does, but I would pick it up when I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duran, same two questions. What do you feel is the primary responsibility of the Board of Education as a whole? What role do its trustees have in day-to-day operations of the district?
I believe there's like 4 pieces to this puzzle here. The first obviously is fiscal. We have to make sure we're spending the right dollars at the right time, working with the community and with all the stakeholders to make sure we're doing everything correctly. Secondly, policies. Whatever policies that we raise, make sure it's fair to all, that we're not singling out people for whatever sports or academics or whatever leanings they have. Let's make sure everything is fair across the board. Third, challenging. We need to make sure that we challenge the community because we can't drop the ball. We always tell our students there's no excuses for dropping the ball. I think during COVID, we dropped the ball. We're leaning back and saying, oops, we made a mistake. The kids are not learning. We have to find a way to step that up and help them learn. Make sure that we give them what the tools they need, challenge them more, and so they can come out of this COVID none the worse. I don't think we've done that, so that's something we should think about in the future. And the fourth thing I think the board members need to do is learn from the past. Listen to the people who have the knowledge, the people who've been through this already. Look at the past minutes, make sure we don't make the same mistakes again. So let's look at history and let's make sure that we're understanding where we are so we can make the right decisions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the questions section of our forum tonight. We will now move on to the closing statement section. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make a closing remark. Again, this closing statement gives each candidate a final opportunity to speak solely on his or her behalf. Mr. Moda, you are up first.
Thank you. I again want to thank the Mahopac PTO for organizing this event. I also want to thank the other candidates for sharing their answers to tonight's questions. I would like to reiterate my goal of increasing transparency and community engagement, fiscal responsibility, utilizing talent and insight, again, from within the district. The most important issue is to make sure that our children are receiving the best and most advanced and up-to-date education possible. When Mahopac is ranked number 423 in New York State out of 1,200, and our neighboring districts are ranked under 175, we failed our children. And to me, failure and the status quo is unacceptable. We can do better, and we will do better. Thank you for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Farfara, you are up next with a 2-minute closing statement.
So in closing, I would say we have a bunch of challenges that lie ahead over the next 3 years. I'm up to those challenges. The first would be certainly, hopefully we're in a post-COVID situation in September, and we're going to have to deal with the fallout of COVID. And I think, again, I think there are some silver linings in COVID. I think we could learn some things from there. In fact, I'm sure there are, and we will. I believe we are headed into a couple of years of intense capital improvements in the school district. I think that will be challenging. You're going to see some of these schools are going to be under construction even as late as September and October and November. Those are going to be a big challenge. I do believe we live in a great community, a great bunch of people. This forum tonight actually proves that I think you guys are all outstanding candidates, and I'm proud to sit here with anyone is. And I think people are going to have a tough time picking who to vote, to be honest with you. I just think it's a very good group. It's a very strong group. And it's great to see that a lot of people have come forward. I take a few minutes just to thank the PTO and all that they do, not just this forum, but being involved in our schools. And that's really what makes schools great, right? Is parent involvement, right? People involved in schools, because that's what schools are about. They're about people. Again, I look forward to the challenges. I think it's an exciting time. It's an exciting community. We live in a great place, and we can only make it greater. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Mrs. Masafra, you are up next with a 2-minute closing statement.
I just want to say thank you for the PTO for putting this together tonight. I think this is very important for our community. I also want to say that my time on the board has been to be an advocate for all our students, teachers, and staff needs. There are many items I have supported throughout the years, and at this time, I just want to share some of those highlights. Remember, having knowledge is power. Some of the things that I'm proud to say that I was part of is the bond passing, and this facilitated much needed repairs and upgrades to our schools. And work is scheduled in each one of our 6 schools and a bus garage. Technology in our schools, the rollout of the Chromebook. It was an initiative while ensuring our schools did not have dead zones and were addressed in order for our students and teachers to have continuous internet access. Security, I mean, that's a big thing in our district. I was on the board when we put the zones in at the middle school and high school and made sure that we had security going into our campus, and we had the double door system. I remember the days when you used to just walk into one of our schools. Elementary, reading is such an important part of learning. As I said before, we have our teachers do professional development, the Teachers College. We had the Readers Writers Workshop. Having our students learn to read is the most important thing. The middle school, we introduced world language grade for 7th graders. Modified sports we added. We added recess area for the middle school. At the high school, as students enter the 9th grade, we need to get them started in what is the next stage of their education. Is it BOCES programs or whatever they feel is the best for them. We also have the Mahopac Falls Academy that keeps our students here in the district. As I described and supported many of these initiatives in our schools, there's still much work to be done. If reelected, I will continue to be the advocate for our community, students, teachers, and staff. When you vote for me, you're voting for your children, and I appreciate your vote on Tuesday, May 18th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, you are up next with a closing 2-minute statement.
Thank you, PTO. And again, I'd like to, Mr. Fafara, I'd like to mirror his, you all did a great job tonight. It's good to see everyone here being involved. I think the Mahopac school system is doing great. I've watched it come along for years. Again, I've gone through it. My siblings have gone through it. And I think it gets better and better. If I'm on a school board, I'd like to support a lot of what we have going on now. I think we do have great programs. I think things are working nice. I specifically love the inclusion classes. I think when I was going to school, we didn't have that. I've watched my children go through that. It's made them better people. It's made everybody better people. I'm amazed when I look at my kids. So I look at Mahopac, I look how it was then, great place to grow up and live in. It's even better. It's getting better and better. Getting expensive. Of course, we have to look at that, which is one of the things I want to look at. But we need to look at the money. We need to look at the money coming in. We need to look at, again, this bond that I'm really concerned about, another $50+ million. I'd like to look into what's going on with the money as well. But mainly, I really want to support what is going on in our school district now. You're all doing a great job. Those of you that aren't on this board, you teachers, you, Miss Downey, again, of course, great to see you. But I think we all in a wonderful place. If you vote for me, I would like to continue the wonderful things happen in this community. I love it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Duran, you are up next with a closing 2-minute statement.
I want to thank everyone for giving me a chance for this position. I'm glad that I have an opportunity to try to give my time back to the community, which I really love. I believe Mahopac was a great school district pre-COVID, and I think we can get back there working together. No excuses. I'm hoping that a fresh pair of eyes and my corporate finance background and willingness to ask questions of the norm will help all of us. I hope that I can help our children, parents, teachers in our community, and I'm willing to put in the time and effort to make sure that happens. Once again, thank you all for listening, and I wish everybody good luck.
Thank you. Mrs. Mueller, you are up last. You have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Okay, let me apologize in advance because my dog is definitely going to go nuts because there's some major wildlife happening outside my window and she's very loud. So if that happens, apologies. I just want to thank you guys again for the opportunity to come here and talk and share some of our opinions and our goals for time on the board. All of us, I'm sure, it's great to just get in front of the community when we can. As I said earlier, I think it's important that we take a fresh look at things. And sometimes that means putting new people in place to explore the budgets and the processes and the decisions that are being made. I am not one to make the same mistake twice. I'm happy to read notes and find out what was done and why it didn't work, change the ways, try something new. I don't think we should come in and just change everything up, but I do think there's ways that we can shift and be more creative. I would say this though, regardless of the outcome of next week, it's been really wonderful seeing how many more parents are involved in our district and voicing their opinions because of the pandemic. It's one of the silver linings that Dave mentioned. I think that we are more active. There's more eyes on what's going on. And I think that can only be good. So regardless of what happens next week, I'm eager to stay involved. I'm eager to continue to voice my opinions and to hear others and to share that. And I think that everyone that's listening should do the same. Ask questions, challenge the answers, demand data, demand the backup. I want to see a proposal for why we didn't get trailers to put our students in so we could space. I want to know why that wasn't fiscally possible. Like things like that. We need to see those answers and we need to see what's being decided behind the scenes because we can't all be in that room. I get that, but our voices should all be in that room. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And sorry if my dog was really loud in the background.
Thank you. This concludes our evening. Thank you to the candidates for participating in this event and to the community for tuning in tonight. Please remember that the 2021-2022 candidate election will be held in person along with the budget vote in the Mahopac High School Gymnasium on Tuesday, May 18th from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. Please exercise your right to vote. Wishing everyone joining us a safe evening. Good night.